I think I've uncovered a rugby scandal, and it concerns the scrum, props, and rugby's relationship with both. And I think, frankly, what I've uncovered is outrageous and needs to be shared and needs to be challenged, which is what I'm going to do on this video right now. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Yeah, let's talk about those guys that anchor the scrum, which is, after all, the very thing which makes rugby the sport that we love. The fact it is a sport for all shapes and sizes, the fact that every person, whatever your skill set, has a role on a rugby field, all stems from the fact that we have a scrum. And I've spoken many times on the channel about how much I love that, how important it is to preserve that. Well, how about showing a bit of love to guys like this? And there are many of them that are out there. You know it from your local club at every level. They're a unique breed, the guys that go in the front row. I played a bit of hooker myself in my time, mainly in the back row. But, you know, every now and again I'd slot in at hooker. You know, like Brannis, my hero, slot in like Dion Free. But these props, they're a breed all of their own. And this, as I say, this follows on from the video I did yesterday where I picked my team of the tournament for the Rugby Championship. And I made the maybe slightly bold claim that I was backing Oxenche to be World Player of the Year if he has a big November in those internationals up north. He'll be playing at Twickenham. I can't wait to see him play again. That'll be awesome. But yes, there's a long way to go to actually win it, so I kind of backed him for that award. And yeah, I did some digging into the stats because I did say on the last video, and it is a fact, no prop has ever won World Player of the Year, which surprised me. I had a look into the stats. It gets even more surprising. Wait for this. If you appreciate the content on the channel, by the way, please give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. You could just tell me who you think the nominees and the winner of the World Player of the Year this year will be. Albeit there is more rugby to come in November. Cannot forget that. It's going to be it won't be one based purely on the rugby that we've seen already in 2024. But I did say, well, these were my three players of the rugby tournament. In 3-2-1 order, I gave it Cheslin Colby, Pieter-Steph du Toit, and number one Oxenche. And I suggested that might be a worthy list of nominees for World Player of the Year for this year. They are the world champions. They have won the rugby championship, and they've played some pretty amazing rugby. These three individuals in particular. So first off, let's just speculate who might be other nominee contenders. And the way they do it now is they used to have loads of nominees, but now it's just 3 nominees and 1 winner, so 4 people in total. So if it were those 3, who would be the 4th person? I would suggest, and tell me what you think in the comments down below, Caelan Doris. He has been absolutely immense. Ireland won the Six Nations once again. As captain, he led his team to Ireland down to South Africa. And I was there to watch those 2 test matches in Pretoria and Durban. And I feel out of everyone that was on the 2 teams over those 2 games, Caelan Doris was the best player out of everyone. He was absolutely immense in both matches. So I would definitely think Caelan Doris is a very strong contender. And if he has a big November, he could absolutely win World Player of the Year. And if he has a big November, it would be a worthy accolade. There's more rugby to be played. I don't think you can rule out Antoine Dupont. I know he didn't play in the Six Nations. I don't know how much they take into account things like the Champions Cup, where he basically won the game on his own in what was one of the most incredible individual performances that I've ever seen, frankly, at the very top of the club level of the game. Obviously the Olympics and everything. So yeah, you can't rule him out, but there's a lot of rugby to be played. So we will see what happens this November. But I looked into this, and as I've already said, no prop has ever won World Player of the Year, which is part of the reason why I'm saying, give it to Ox. He's playing amazing rugby, and we need to shift this narrative about props and how important they are to rugby, because I think it's easy to just think, well, we'll give it to the guys that score all the points, score all the tries, do all the stuff that you see that's really obvious. Whereas the people that pick World Player of the Year should be the people that more than anyone appreciate how important the scrum is to rugby. Have a look at these stats, which I uncovered. As I mentioned, no prop has ever won World Player of the Year. There's been 1 hooker. That was Keith Wood in 2001, the very first time the award was dished out. There's been 1 lock that has won it. 10 years ago, Brodie Retallick got it. There's been a load of flankers. And obviously there's 2 of them, so you have to take that into consideration. But Richie McCaw, Scout Berger, Josh van der Fleer, Pieter-Steph du Toit, Thierry Dusautoir. There's been a couple of number 8s, Ardy Savia and Kieran Reid. A couple of number 9s, Fabien Galtier and Antoine Dupont. It's interesting, isn't it? And I wonder what it tells you about the way that different nations play rugby. That both number 8s that have won it have been New Zealanders. Both number 9s that have won it have been French. Interesting. As for fly half, there's been a bunch that have won it. Dan Carter's won it multiple times. Johnny Wilkinson, Johnny Sexton, and Bowden Barrett's won it a couple of times as well. And he was fly half when he won the award as well, because obviously Bowden Barrett plays around the pitch, 10, 15 and whatnot. And a couple of wingers, Shane Williams and Brian Habana, but no props, but also no centres and no fullbacks. Bearing in mind there are 2 centres on a field and 2 props on the field, I find all of those pretty surprising that not one has won over all of it. So what I did is I looked a bit deeper at all of the nominees, and there have been about 90 nominees in the life of this award. And have a look at these numbers, because this is the list of World Player of the Year nominees. And again, loads of flankers, loads of fly halves, loads of scrum halves, bunch of number 8s. Obviously, there's only 1 number 8 and 2 flankers, so those numbers are kind of equivalent. But there is fullbacks on this list being nominated, and there's loads of centres being nominated. The hookers there, Joe Taufete'e, that was one that totally didn't expect. From the USA, he got a nomination, but Malcolm Marks, Dane Coles and Steve Thompson, the others. Locks, you've had the likes of Eben Etzebeth, Victor Matfield, Maru Itoje. Flankers, guys like Jerome Kano and Michael Hooper, Pocock and Tom Curry. Vunipola, Vermeulen, Parise, Harry Nordicke are number 8s that have been nominated. Furi de Prier, Faf de Klerk. Among the scrum halves, Piri Weepu as well. About that one. Fly halves, yeah, I've already mentioned Bodie. He got nominated and didn't win one year. Juan Martin Hernandez. But loads of centres, the likes of Brian O'Driscoll, a bunch of nominations, Tanner Umaga, Kurtley Beale, Matt Gitto, Yannick Yozion. So there's been loads of centres. Jason Robinson, Rico Ioane, Julian Savia have had nominations on the wing. And fullbacks, no winners, but Villy LaRue's been nominated. Israel Folau, Chris Latham and Bin Smuth has been nominated as well. No props. No props nominated whatsoever. I was leaving that number out. No props even nominated for World Player of the Year. A big fat bagel. Nothing. That's outrageous. That shouldn't be the case. In total, if you add the number of winners and the number of nominees and just put them all together, more flankers than any other position. There are 2 of them. Loads of fly halves and there's only 1 of them. So really that's the most prominent position. And you can kind of understand that, can't you? You can. They're the ones that are the like quarterback of the team, if you like, score the points, playmakers. I get it. No props nominated in the entire life of World Player of the Year. And this comes back to the relationship with the scrum. It is the defining feature of our sport. If you don't have the scrum, you end up with a sport like rugby league, where every single player is 5'11" cubes. The scrum is what makes rugby. Giant men are able to go and step on the field and do what they do, and that ties in other players, and it creates space for the little quick guys. So at the same time, without Oxenche, you don't have Cheslin Colby. And this is the absolute beauty of rugby, and it has to stay, it has to be celebrated. And the fact that there's a big fat 0 there, unacceptable. Because here are some people, well, before I get there, let me just say, it would be in my interest, I am an Englishman, to not like the scrum. I'm a proud Englishman. I wanted my team to win in 2019. I always want my England team to go and win. I'll be cheering them on this November again. I will be at Twickenham for South Africa, and I'm hoping I don't see a repeat of this in 2019 in the World Cup final. If the scrum wasn't a thing, we might have been world champions again. And then it happened 4 years later. I was there in Paris that night watching that scrum when my heart sank. And as much as I was disappointed, I kind of loved it, because it showed that the scrum is still as important as it ever was, and it needs to be kept that way. So 0 nominees at prop. Carl Heyman never got a look in. Man, that guy was incredible as a rugby player. But this is it. The props do things on a rugby field which aren't glamorous. It's like that Ballon d'Or award for best footballer. It always goes to the guy with the number 10 on his back, the playmaker attacking forward. It never goes to the guy who enables Lionel Messi to do what he does, by just taking care of business at the back. Sometimes they will be the first name on a team sheet. And what's that phrase? I think it was it Doc Craven, someone said, came up with that phrase initially, but it's been used many times by many different people. The most important player on your team is your tight head prop. The second most important player on your team is the backup tight head prop. They don't get the love that they deserve on the highest stage. Carl Heyman, what an absolute beast in his day. Marcus Ayerza, probably the most destructive scrummager before Oxenche in the loose head position. That guy was terrifying, and he would just annihilate opposition scrums. Argentina, I mean, if they had Marcus Ayerza now, imagine how good that back line could be if they were playing off of a stable footing, not a scrum that was on roller skates. Oz Durant in 2007 didn't get any love. Adam Jones was so good. Adam Jones is one of the reasons why they stopped the hit at the scrum, because with the hit rather than the bind and engage, Adam Jones was so destructive at that hit that he just ruined opposition teams. And he was, I'm telling you, he was part of the reason why the laws got changed. It's not always South Africa being good at the scrum that causes the laws to be changed. This guy was different gravy at scrum time. Never got a look in. Keane Healy, proper church. Go back 10 years. That guy was immense. Still good now. Tandayam Tamawira, incredible player. Never got any love. So important. And think back to, yeah, it was. I was just thinking back, 2019. It was that I showed you that picture of Dan Cole getting popped up out of the scrum. He was the guy doing the damage, wasn't he? He was the guy absolutely annihilating England, which laid the platform to win a Rugby World Cup. So, Franz Malherbe, my goodness me, we're in real time right now watching one of the best tight head props ever go and do his thing. And we saw it at the weekend. So, there we go. Back to this guy. That is why, look, I know Pieter-Steph du Toit probably will win World Player of the Year if he has a decent November. Let's always remember that. The decision shouldn't and hasn't and cannot be made now. We've got some big matches coming up. And if Pieter-Steph du Toit goes and does more Pieter-Steph du Toit things, he will probably win. And I would not begrudge that at all. He would absolutely 100% deserve it. I would love to see this guy win for all the reasons I've talked about. He has to be nominated. World Rugby, give your head a wobble and do the right thing. Celebrate scrums and celebrate the thing that makes rugby the sport that we love. And give this guy his dues. That's what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you on the next one. Oh, there we go. See you on the next one.